Cold air whipped through the city streets as Ava stood at the back of a line snaking around the block, arms wrapped tightly around herself, the thin fabric of her sweatshirt doing little to shield her from the biting wind. Her shoes were torn, her socks soaked, and her backpack, once colorful, was now stained and fraying at the seams. She had heard the church shelter might take in a few extra people tonight, and with nowhere else to go, she clung to hope like it was her last possession. As the line crept forward, Ava rehearsed what she would say, hoping that desperation wouldn't spill from her voice too soon. When she finally reached the folding table by the shelter entrance, the woman behind it flipped through a clipboard without looking up. "Name?" she asked mechanically. "Ava Monroe," she whispered. The woman paused, scanned the sheet, then shook her head. "Not on the list. Only pre-registered names." "Sorry." Ava's breath hitched. "Please, it's freezing. I didn't know I had to register." But the woman's eyes were already on the next person in line. "Step aside." Ava stumbled back, her chest tight, her hands trembling. The streetlights flickered above her, and for a moment, she considered sleeping in the alley again. Just as she turned away, a voice beside her asked gently, "Are you okay?" She turned to see a tall man holding 2 grocery bags, his flannel shirt dusted with snow. A little girl peeked out from behind him, her mittened hand gripping his. Ava tried to answer but only shook her head. He looked at the shelter worker, then back at Ava. "She's with me," he said calmly. And just like that, the door opened. Ava couldn't remember the last time a room had felt this warm, not just in temperature, but in presence. Caleb's apartment was modest, a 2-room space with mismatched furniture and a drafty window, but the moment she stepped inside, it wrapped around her like a blanket. The scent of something home-cooked clung to the air, and the little girl, Lily, dashed to a corner filled with crayons and coloring books. Ava stood awkwardly at the entrance until Caleb gestured toward the couch. "Sit," he said with a kind smile. "You look like you haven't rested in days." She didn't argue. The cushions felt like heaven. Moments later, he handed her a steaming bowl of chicken soup, rich and fragrant. Her hands trembled as she took it, eyes welling with tears she didn't dare release. "I'm not trying to intrude," she murmured. "I'll find somewhere else tomorrow. I just..." Caleb shook his head gently. "You're not intruding. Everyone needs help sometimes. You looked like someone who needed to be seen." Lily plopped beside Ava and held up a drawing, a sun with stick figures smiling beneath it. "That's you," she said proudly, pointing at a figure with wild brown hair. Ava chuckled softly, the sound foreign even to her. For a moment, she felt like a person again, not a problem. After dinner, they sat quietly. Caleb reading a book, Lily drawing, Ava just breathing. No questions. No judgment. Just space to exist. When Ava lay down on the folded-out couch with a blanket Caleb offered, she stared at the ceiling and listened to the faint sound of laughter from the next room. It was the first time in weeks she hadn't felt afraid to close her eyes. The days passed quietly, almost too quietly for Ava, who wasn't used to silence without fear. Caleb never pried, and Lily filled the apartment with innocent chatter, asking questions about clouds and cartoons, making Ava smile more than she had in months. She started helping around the place, folding laundry, cooking meals, even walking Lily to school when Caleb worked late shifts. But the shadows of Ava's past clung to her like a second skin. One night, unable to sleep, she sat on the fire escape in the cold, staring at the distant city lights. Her breath curled in the night air like smoke. Caleb found her there, his hoodie pulled over his head, hands tucked in his pockets. He didn't say anything at first. He just sat beside her. "I wasn't just homeless," Ava said eventually, voice low. "I was running." She swallowed hard. "My ex, he controlled everything. My money. My friends. Even when I left, I kept hearing his voice in my head, telling me I'd never survive without him." Caleb didn't flinch. But you are surviving, he said gently. You got this far. You walked into that shelter line. That took strength. She turned to him, blinking back tears. Why are you being so kind? He shrugged. Because someone once did the same for me when I needed it. Ava looked away, her throat tight. No one had ever told her she was strong. Broken? Yes. Helpless? Often. But strong? That was new. And something inside her, something long buried, stirred at the thought. That night, when she curled up on the couch under a blanket Lily had tucked around her earlier, she didn't dream of her ex. She dreamed of sunlight, crayons, and a stranger's voice saying, "You're not alone anymore." A month later, Ava stood in front of the bulletin board inside the community center, her heart pounding as she read through the list of new staff hires. She scanned the paper twice, unable to believe what she saw. There it was, clear as day, Ava Monroe, assistant cook. Her hand flew to her mouth as tears threatened to spill. Caleb had mentioned the center might be looking for someone to help in the kitchen, but she never imagined he had quietly vouched for her and submitted her name. When she turned around, Caleb was standing there with Lily on his shoulders and 2 grocery bags in each hand, wearing his usual humble smile. "Surprise," he said with a small shrug. "They needed someone who knows how to make a decent soup." Ava couldn't speak. She took a shaky step forward, her voice cracking. "I didn't think I was ready. I still feel like I'm rebuilding." "You are," Caleb said, his eyes steady. "But now you have bricks. And tools. And people who believe in you." Lily reached out her arms and Ava caught her in a hug, feeling the warmth of tiny hands around her neck. For the first time in what felt like forever, Ava felt grounded. No longer a ghost drifting through shelters and sidewalks. She had a name on a door. A job. A place where her past didn't define her. As they walked home that evening, Caleb slowed as they passed the shelter where they first met. Ava looked at the line and then back at him. "You didn't have to say I was with you that night," she whispered. He smiled. "No. But I saw someone worth standing beside." And this time, Ava believed it.